Well, I first started off, my interest in gardening started when I was at school, about 10 or 11 years old. We had a plot each on the school garden.
30 September 1938. I was getting in a roses then.
I was really keen on it. I used to go in during the school holidays to tend to it as well. Dad was a keen gardener as well, so I mean I got a lot of hints from him. That leads us on now to when we moved to Suffolk. I had a double cottage there, so it was like double garden. And trouble is, one of them had been used like a dumping ground for cinders. So cinders and potatoes, they're not very good mates. They always get scabby skins on them. So I had to take on some other gardens which were clean to grow spuds for exhibiting. And I think my first success was the blue ribbon for the best exhibit in the show was for a plate of shallots. And I mean I was way down the pecking order really. I mean there was a lot of really good exhibitors here in that time. There was.
So what time would that be? What year?
This would be 50s, early 50s. We got Colin Randley, he's a village policeman. He was untouchable really. There was Bill Brown, Charlie and John's dad. He was a damn good exhibitor. Bob Cooper, who's a gamekeeper at Sutton Hall. He was another one. I was talking to old Bill one day. We were up there, and their early days there, blokes from the farm, they could have a horse and wagon, bring their stuff up. And he told me one day they'd took a lot of stuff in, and the horses and wagons all outside there. One of the horses reached across into another wagon and started eating the carrots out of their wagon. And to see that stuff laid out on my back garden before we went to the show, that's like a show in itself, really. I expect John and Charlie would say the same thing. I used to book a week's leave prior to the show, and I'd be getting ready everything which I could get ready, like potatoes would be taken up and washed and cleaned. I didn't used to do like Father used to always wash his in milk to get the skins really silky, but I never could afford to do that anyway, but mine were alright, and used to get onion shallots all tied up and ready. And the Friday morning prior to the show, I used to have my breakfast, and I'd go down with my spade, I'd dig everything out, all the carrots. I would dig them out rather than pull them, rather than damage the roots. If you pulled them out, you'd have scratch marks all the way up where you'd pulled them out. So, and I would work them through until dark, which would be about 8:30. They'd be roughly sorted out. I'd bring everything in, or I would literally take the kitchen over. I don't think I was very popular with Violet and the children, but I mean that was that. And that was a means of taking all the spare roots off, washing, trimming the tops, tying them into the various categories. And I would work all through the night. I didn't go to bed that night at all. And in some of them photographs you'll think he looked tired, and he was. And, the boys say, well, can't we help? I said, no. I said, if anything go wrong, that's going to be my fault, which there sometimes was.
Can you think of any time when something did go wrong?
Yeah, one year when I think they were asked for 5 and I put 4 in. And that's one of the things, if anybody was starting an exhibit, and I would say, read that schedule. I think the reason how I slipped up on that was in one of the collections. You get putting all that stuff in on your own. In that amount of time, there's sure to be a mess up somewhere along the line, and well, that was that year. I don't think it cost me anything really. I think I got, well, obviously that exhibit got disqualified, you know, for immediately. I think the judges loved doing that actually. I know I did. If I found something wrong, I'd soon say it. 59, we started with the Atomic Weapons Research Establishment over on Orford Ness, and shortly after that they decided to form what they called a RecSoc, that's a recreational society. They had a shop there, which I ran during lunch times. Also, after hours, I used to brush and iron them on the billiard and snooker table, and also it got a putting, the 9-hole putting green there. I used to cut the grass after hours, as and when required. They then decided one year that they were going to have a flower show. In 1964, I think it was, and I entered and won the cup there. As I said, I won that 4 years on the trot, and when the station packed in, they let me have that as a memento, I suppose you would say. We've gone with that. I had 4 the bronze medals as well. The 2 silver ones, they're the small holder. They were best exhibits in the show at Orford at that time. This one is this one and these ones were awarded at the Post Office Research Establishment, which is now BT, at Marcham Heath. In the November, there was the Ipswich Chrysanth and Vegetable Show. I entered 14 entries there. There's 12 firsts, 1 second, 1 third, 3 cups, and the Master Gardener's Trophy. And I think that wasn't bad going for an amateur, actually. Well, coming on to the 70s now was when I was starting to get into the swing of the Orford Flower Show. I was well behind the pecking order really with Bill Brown, Bob Cooper and Colin Randall. And I mean, they weren't the only ones. There was like Peter Ashley. He was a genius with dahlias and potatoes. There was quite a lot of exhibitors. I mean, they were specialists in their own field, and they took some knocking off really. If you're going to beat them, you'd got to have something outstanding. But anyway, going on to the 70s, I think it was 1972, I won both the cups for the first year, for this first time, and Charlie Brown, he got it for the following year, and then for 74, 75, 76, 77 and 78, I was fortunate enough in being awarded the cups for the most points in the show for then.
It was a year-long job to prepare for.
It is, yes it is. I had no holiday. No.
So how much time did you spend in the garden? Or allotments? Did you have a garden and allotment?
Well, there was no allotments in Sutton at the time, but there was various cottages around there with vacant gardens, and that was damn good land, you know. The Checkers had got a plot right opposite the Checkers. I had that, and there was a couple of old ladies with a plot of land just the other side of that, so I took that on as well. I mean, and this was all handwork, this was all hand digging and all hand cultivated. I've got no root at that time, so I think I knew what the meaning of hard work was. That kept me fit. For that last year, I'd got everything organised. lot of stuff was sown, a lot of stuff was up. And Violet was taken seriously ill. She was in intensive care for a week and she died. And well, and I said, right, I'll do this show as everything's ready and that's it. And well, that weren't a bad time to retire really, at the top of the tree, was it? I decided to finish on the Horticulture Association of Suffolk approached me to see if I'd be agreeable to do some judging. A friend of mine from Bordsey, Cyril Churchill, we went down to the Tendring 100 Farmers Club show in Essex at Lawford Park. We judged their vegetables and fruit there. I also judged quite a lot of the local shows. I judged at the Ipswich Autumn and the summer shows, one at Christchurch Park, the other one's at Trinity Park. I did several village shows, including Orford. I judged several years here. But when I moved back to the parish, I said no, that wouldn't be fair on exhibitors, and that wouldn't be fair on me. So I said no, that's out, Orford. But I judged at several village shows around here. The Otley, they had an inter-village show every year, and Cyril Churchill and I, we judged it there as well. That's something I enjoyed doing. Also, we went to Bilderston, the Suffolk Carrot Championship. Cyril Moles, he's on that photograph there with me. He was the chairman of the Bilderston Flower Show. There was a normal flower show, and they'd got the Suffolk Carrot Championship in there amongst that as well. I do all my own garden to me, apart from the grass. Barry won't let me do that. I feel I could if he'd let me, but no, he say you're too old for that now, so you're not going to be starting cranking a lawnmower now. But I do all the other pruning, trimming up, planting, and the allotments. We look after that. He does all the digging. He won't let me do that. Old man, he say. But I do all the rest of it. Although I've got a bad back, I cannot reach up. But I have no trouble at all in stooping down. I still do my shoelaces up, or bootlaces. For sowing, transplanting, weeding, I've got no problem with that whatsoever. I always grow all our own plants. We never buy any plants in. We always, buy the seed and put the seed in, have a nursery bed down there and grow on, and then plant out as and when we want. Potatoes, we buy about half Scotch seed and we save half of our own seed and plant it like that. We have to put like carrots and parsnips under Enviromesh to stop the carrot fly. We have a heck of a problem down there with the pigeons. That means we have to grow, all the green stuff has to go under what we always have a big cage. I have it about 6 foot high so we can get underneath, work in there and harvest or work in there with no problems at all. We have had, other years we had severe rat problems down there. Moles, rabbits, you name it, we've had it down there. Get round it though, and yeah, of course.
So yes. How many people do you feed with your allotment? How many people do you feed with all your vegetables?
Well, Barry and myself, of course, and I've got 3 daughters. They come and see me once a month, and I make sure they always go away with something in their bag. Well, you could say we're self-sufficient on that lot.
So
I really love it. That's something to do. You're in the fresh air, you're out of the way, and what better place would you have on that Castle Green? That keep me fit, and I love it. beautiful Britain roses. There's a bed there of 60 roses. I look after them, I'm quite pleased with them. Every other year they have a flower festival at Suffolk Church, and well, when Joan was alive she used to do it, arrange that, but I do it now, and I think there's 70 stems of roses go in that one basket, and although I say it myself, they do look nice. I always leave and cut them in the morning when the dew is on. I think they stay fresher like that, and try and get them down to Suffolk Church without damaging them.
How do you look after your roses?
Well, this is it running? Well, you've got constantly keep looking at them. I get a lot of trouble with greenfly now. I think a lot of it come from the trees over the side there. I always make sure I try and get them pruned by the end of the year. I try and give them a winter spray to stop black spot. I don't prune hard. I'd say take about half the wood off. I always use Rose Clear spray for this. Is as good as anything, I think. I feed twice a year with top rose fertiliser. This year in particular I've got to get some, I've got some on the allotment, some well rotted muck, so I'll top dress with that. I don't know whether there's much else I can say about the roses really. They literally look after themselves, but there is one thing I will say. I've got some out there now I've got to replace, but you cannot replace roses with roses. In the soil, it's what they call rose sickness. So what I do, I always dig a hole out about a foot square, a foot deep, and put a cardboard box in there and fill that with soil or compost from the allotment and plant the rose in that. And then by the time the roots get through the compost, through the cardboard, the rose sickness is gone. And I'll stroke my own cuttings with that as well. I find it's a lot cheaper. You get that when you're paying 10 quid odd for a rose, and you've got a few to replace. That's what I do with a lot of my roses really when they go off. You know, I've got some cuttings down there now on the allotment which I've struck, which are ready to go out. And here they'll be going out like this springtime. When you're striking cuttings, you cut just below a bed, and you put a cross, or cut a cross in the bottom of that, and you put a wheat kernel in that cross, then bind it up with bats, or raffia as we call it, and you then put that in sand, a small trench about 3 inches deep with sharp sand in the bottom of it. Put that in there. Well, before you do it, a little drop of the rooting powder, then put that in there and firm it in. Keep it watered in the summer. Hey presto, that's your rose bush.